Before we start showing some slides, we wanted to just introduce ourselves. So Randall, do you want to start out?
Sure. I'm Randall Amster. I'm co-director and teaching professor in environmental studies. I work with the Earth Commons, obviously, in developing curricula and undergraduate programming in particular. And I also work on campus with what's known as the Red House, which maybe Keaton might say a word about, where we do innovation, educational design. And that's part of how this degree that we're excited to share with you today came to fruition.
Hi, I'm Jessie Myler, and I am part of the Earth Commons also. I'm an environmental scientist, and I've been helping to develop the joint environment and sustainability program also with Randall and Keaton and many others. And then I'm also going to be teaching some of the foundations environmental science courses in the program, and we'll get to talking about those a little bit later. Keaton?
Hi, I'm Keaton Nara. So I'm a current postbac fellow. I graduated in 2022 and I was brought on to work with undergraduate curriculum development, specifically focusing on a peer leadership development and what that can look like for students who want to build up more of their professional development experience before graduating.
Great. Do you want to mention a little bit about the Red House too?
Oh, sure. Yeah. The Red House, I work between the Red House and Earth Commons, and the Red House, as Randall said, is a place of a lot of curriculum innovation. So they take on a lot of different projects throughout the university to build curriculum. And in a way that I like to put it, they break a lot of rules in higher education. So a lot of the traditional stuff that you see in higher education that maybe you want to see changed a little bit or brought in, like bring in more student perspective. That's a big place where that happens at the university.
I'll just add real quick. I know we're going to launch into the slides, but just on that point, I think you'll see in this degree a lot of those innovations. And just to be clear, like these are all tools to make the student experience more in depth, right? So as Keaton is alluding to, a lot of peer-to-peer connections, putting students in the center, trying to create a tapestry of experiences. Those are not easy to do in any context when you're designing classes and curriculum. But in this case, because we were working with folks at the Red House, that sense of innovation was really part of it, to try to ensure that you all who are interested in this program really have a chance to have a cutting edge 21st century education. That's the Red House's mission. And I think that infusion was really a great connection with the Earth Commons, which was already thinking forward about how we cope with all these environmental issues.
Great. So with that, I'll just start sharing my screen, and so you can see the slides. Randall, Keaton, you guys see that okay? Great, yep. Thank you. All right, so while this is up here, just so you know what the name of the program is, it's the Joint Environment and Sustainability Program, which is a joint program between the College of Arts and Sciences and the Earth Commons, and we'll explain what that means in a couple minutes. But I also wanted to put our emails up here if you want to reach out to us. You have any questions following up? We'll also put this slide up again at the end so that you can see them again. And then Priscilla, who's helping us to orchestrate this info session, might be able to put them into the chat a little bit later also, so you could copy those. All right. So just a quick overview about what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk first a little bit about the program itself, what makes it unique, what makes it interesting, how it was developed, some of the different components that we're bringing to the program that are really developed specifically for this program. They're not brought in from other places. They're really thoughtfully and intentionally put together for the program. We'll talk a little bit about how some of the environmental initiatives that have been going on at Georgetown on campus and as part of the institution over the past years. And then we'll get into the program itself and how environmental engagement actually is a key component to the program, some of the different aspects of the program that actually really feed this environmental engagement. And then we'll get into the curriculum. So we'll start talking about some of the features of the program itself, get into looking at what that first year of the program is designed to look like, and then also talk about some of the courses that are going to be offered the first semester, this fall semester coming up. And then we'll have plenty of time for questions and discussion at the end. So Randall, do you want to start with this one or you want me to? I'm happy to.
I can just say a quick word and I'll pass it to you on this one,
Okay.
Jesse. So as we were saying, I mean, we really took seriously this question of what would a state-of-the-art, cutting-edge, 21st century forward-looking curriculum look like around environment and sustainability. And to do that, there's a number of levels that it needs to work on. One is clearly, on the right side, environmental change, systems thinking, structural analysis, policy making, how we apply all of our knowledge and skills and data and research, advocacy, how we use that to change the systems and structures that we participate in a whole range of ways in our lives. But also it has to connect with our personal trajectory, that there is a real dimension of this work that is about our own well-being, our sense of belonging, how we form communities, how we develop skills of empathy and mindfulness and well-being. Those things are equally important. So that personal and structural and systemic really need to be connected, and that's the unique integration of this curriculum. And I think you'll see it, in the design. We tried to be cognizant of those factors, not as separate factors, but as the center diagram shows, as mutually reinforcing factors.
Well, I don't have that much to add to this, except to say that it's not just about the curriculum, right? Like, so it's not just about the courses that you're going to take, that it is a really, like I mentioned before, a very thoughtfully and intentionally designed program, a degree program. And it is also a degree. It's not a major. It is a degree program that has multiple components beyond the courses in the curriculum. So those, Keaton alluded to some of those before. We're talking about leadership, right? And we'll talk about how that kind of comes into play in a little bit too, but thinking about how the curriculum actually is integrated with some of the outside of the classroom experiences, the connections to the community, and how that helps the students and the instructors also building an ecological belonging, a sense of place and a connection to the environment, and then taking that forward and seeing how you can actually use that to affect change for the environment. Okay, so I'm going to let Randall start off on this one because he's the spokesman for the minor here. So go ahead, Randall.
Yeah, so Georgetown has a long history of environmental engagement. There's been an environmental studies minor in the college, which serves students across the university for many years. And the Earth Commons had a predecessor called the Georgetown Environment Initiative, which did a lot of important work in terms of funding research and data-driven projects and community-based projects. And then there's the Office of Sustainability as well. What's notable is that in recent years, there's been a real uptick of all of this activity with the Earth Commons coming online. We'll say a bit about that in a moment. Office of Sustainability, hiring a new vice president of sustainability. But in terms of environmental studies, the main curricular piece, not the only one, but one of the key environmental curriculum spaces on campus, we rebooted that minor about 5 years ago, and we framed it around a conception of science, policy, and humanities. And those are broad categories and they subsume a lot of things, but it was meant to indicate that we're really grounding ourselves in the science of how all of this works, so that we should really be conversant with that and understand those patterns and processes, and then what to do with it in a policy sense. What kinds of social outcomes, economic outcomes does that presuppose? And then humanities, cultural frames, narrative, storytelling, all of those are equally powerful in the environmental studies minor. And we've definitely built on that framework. We have a robust program with a lot of students graduating. They do capstone projects, which is not unique for a minor, but we certainly give them a lot of latitude to do creative and interesting projects. And you'll see some of that spill over into this new degree as well. So I'll just say a quick word about the second line. In addition to environmental studies, you'll see some pretty solid precursors and environmental course offerings in the STIA program, Science, Technology, and International Affairs. That's a program of the School of Foreign Service. The MSB, the McDonough School of Business, has developed a certificate in sustainability and entrepreneurship. And you're seeing a lot of interest in the business environment nexus. And then the McCourt School of Public Policy has developed an environmental track as well. So it's definitely happening in a really inspiring and amazing way around Georgetown, but that long history is beginning to really, show its potential with some of the new innovations that we're sharing with you today.
Great. So I'll pick up there and talk a little bit about some of the other programs, including a new master's program that we have just started this past year, or actually it started a little bit before that, but actually went online this past year. So the first academic offerings within the Earth Commons and other programs was this Master's of Science in Environment and Sustainability Management that was a joint program, or is a joint program between the Earth Commons and the McDonough School of Business. And it is an environmental science and sustainability management master's program. So really evidence-based and focused and forward-thinking as far as sustainability goes. It's a really dynamic program, very intense, and it's about a year-long program. It's actually only 11 months, and it's a pretty intensive program. Our first cohort just graduated and had raved about the program itself. So it's actually expanding, and it's going to be even bigger this coming year. The number of applicants keeps growing. So that's our first master's program, the first academic program that is coming out of the Earth Commons with partners, and this one with the McDonough School of Business. We have other master's programs that are lined up to be started and come online within the next couple of years as well. One of those is in a joint partnership program with the School of Foreign Service. So that's one of our that's one of the areas as far as graduate education goes. Our current program that we're talking about, this undergraduate degree program, is slated to be quite large and is going to be very interdisciplinary and working across multiple schools. So while it is a joint program with the College of Arts and Sciences and Earth Commons, there are other components that students can take classes in some of the other schools as well. So talking about the Earth Commons, we keep referring to the Earth Commons. The Earth Commons is the Institute of Environment and Sustainability that was started a few years ago and has been designed to build all of the environmental components that we're trying to integrate into Georgetown's ethos and the systems at Georgetown. So there is a strong level of support for environment and sustainability initiatives on campus right now, from the ground level all the way on up to the highest administrative offices. And that's really important to make sure that the different activities and the programs that we're putting in place have that support and keep them moving forward. So that's a really huge component. There's a couple of things listed up here as far as research goes. Very strong level of support for research at lots of levels, from the undergraduate level, graduate levels, post-doctoral levels, and for working with scholarship with the faculty on campus as well. So lots of opportunities for research and for students to get involved in research too. The Earth Commons is putting out all sorts of different events and activities and student initiatives across campus. And these are things that hopefully you'll become involved in. Lots of opportunities for cross-discipline type activities, different sorts of clubs that we're working with as well. And there's a picture here on the slide of some of the student stewards that are working in the Hoya Harvest Garden on campus. And they're working with Shelby, who is on the right there in that picture, who is also a postbac that's working with the Earth Commons and has actually worked to design and build the Hoya Harvest Garden, which is a huge success. I can't say enough about it, but we're actually going to be working with the Hoya Harvest Garden in a number of our classes too. There's a lot of different opportunities to get involved there. And then Randall already mentioned the Office of Sustainability, but there's a lot of different, while there are events and initiatives, they're involved in so many different aspects of sustainability on campus, everything from energy and water resources to, lighting and landscape use, biodiversity, transportation, lots of different aspects of sustainability and different opportunities to get involved there. I just had meetings with two of the representatives from the Office of Sustainability yesterday, and we're going to be working with them on a biodiversity initiative in the Foundation's Environmental Science and Sustainability class this coming fall, which is pretty exciting. All right, so environmental engagement within the Joint Environment and Sustainability Program. I wanted to mention and reiterate that this program, this degree program, is proposed and is in the final stages of approval right now, and that this likely will move forward very quickly. We wanted to go over some of the aspects of it, and while the courses that we are offering in the fall, they are open to other students as well. The focus is to really bring together the students that are intending to pursue this joint degree program. And you can see on this slide, there's a lot of stuff going on here, but it's bringing together, we mentioned before, the ecological belonging, right? But then also some of the skills and the knowledge that you'll be developing in the courses, the foundation courses. We'll go over those in a little bit, but trying to integrate and pull those together in different ways. And we have some really dynamic and interesting ways that we're going to go about that, especially in the first and second years, where it's very structured and we have the ability to integrate across disciplines and across courses. Randall, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, I'll just say real quick, that last line on this slide, knowledge, skills, mindsets, values, doing this work is clearly about knowledge acquisition and how we utilize that knowledge, the skills that we can bring to bear to make change in our lives and in the world around us. Mindsets, like the way we look at these problems. Complexity can be confounding, but it can also be an opportunity to work in a more detailed way across a range of perspectives and disciplines. And then values, the ways that we not only see the world, but the ways that we establish our core selves, the things that we stand for, our habits of being. All of those things come together in this blended knowledge way where we're combining science and society and justice and culture. All of those things turn out to be equally important in doing this work. That, if we're addressing a problem like climate change, it's so complex that it clearly requires us to be conversant in a wide range of ways of thinking and being in the world. And that's really the idea of the degree, is to infuse these values. And they're not linear, and you can see there's sort of a little, where do you start to look at this graph, which is the center, which is the outside. It's all connected to each other, ideally, and they're balancing each other to infuse this sense of environmental engagement throughout every point of the experience.
Great. Well, that leads us very nicely into the curricular components of the program, and starting off talking about integration, right? Like, how are we actually designing the program to be integrated across not just the courses, but the experiential components as well, some of the immersion experiences too. We'll explain what we mean by that in a second. Thinking about the fact that you can start out with a pretty structured first 2 years of the program. And this is something we want to reiterate too, that this program is a 2-2 program where we actually have the first 2 years on the Hilltop, the Hilltop Georgetown campus, and then the second 2 years are at the Capitol campus downtown. And that structure is intentional in that we are building the foundational components of this program in the first 2 years when you're taking a number of kind of prescribed courses, as well as you're meeting a lot of your core requirements and things for Georgetown overall. And then in the last 2 years, you have the ability and the flexibility to actually build a concentration or a pathway, if you will, for an area of passion or interest and design specific to what your interest, but also maybe your professional goals might be as well. And so that allows the first 2 years to really build those foundations, and the second 2 years to really open up into some of the different concentration areas that are very broad. And some of those are listed here, but they could include other things as well. We also want to mention that there are a number of areas where we're moving through the courses that there are specific components that were designed to engage with the community. Some of those might be for instance, in the first year in the foundational environmental science and sustainability course, we actually have a component that is going to be working in the city. You're going to be going out and meeting with people and actually collecting data and working on different projects that are not just on campus, but actually in the surrounding communities as well. And some of those might be in other courses where you're actually going to be doing potentially community engagement in different ways, like maybe even community service and volunteer or activism. There are different components that might be a part of that as well. That's tied to the experiential learning parts of the program also, where you have some of the, like I mentioned with the foundation course, have an experiential component, but also it could be studying abroad. It could be an immersion experience in another place in the United States. We have domestic and local DC options for immersion there. That could be internships. It could be research experiences. All of these are actually built into be part of the program and be part of the credits that you're actually putting towards the degree. That's why this is a degree and not a major. And then some of the leadership opportunities that are available as well, where we have peer mentoring and peer teaching opportunities. And Keaton can maybe say a little bit about that when we get to the questions and discussion component. But one of the other parts that we were saying is this cross-disciplinary component, bringing it together. And when we start talking about some of the classes that we're going to be offering, this will make a little bit more sense because we have these immersion experiences in the first and second years that are really bringing together this cross-disciplinary or interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary components of the program, where we're kind of cross-cutting these things and putting them to use and applying them. And then actually coming back to some of the ecological belonging, thinking about change and how we actually get to change, whether that's at the personal level, the local, the regional, the national, the global level. We want each individual student to be connected to the environment and seeing how their place in the environment is an opportunity for affecting change, right? Putting it forward in a meaningful way that is specific to the needs around them, but then also to what their skills, their ability, their knowledge that they've been building has also. Anything else, Randall?
I'll just say a quick word about the interdisciplinarity. There's a lot of talk at the university around interdisciplinary. You hear this in a lot of spaces. Many colleges and universities are, recognizing how important it is with complex issues, with really any sense of learning, to draw upon the widest possible range of disciplines. But that doesn't mean that we don't sometimes dig deep in a discipline, right? So the idea isn't to just smooth them all out or do all of them at the same time all the time. Sometimes, you'll be doing the science, you'll be doing the policy, you'll be doing the humanities aspects, but it's always critical to combine them and be able to think and act across those disciplines, to draw upon the best practices from all of those disciplines, and to leverage our collective expertise. No one field has a premium on understanding how climate change works, or food justice, or energy policy. Like, those are things that implicate such a wide range of human behaviors and societal interactions that they ask us to think across a range of disciplines. So it's really exciting to see that woven in. A lot of programs aspire to that. We started with that premise. What would it look like if we drew upon that? I do, before we go to the next slide, just want to maybe invite Keaton to say a quick word about the student-centered aspects of the design process here.
Yeah, thank you so much. So just to add on to this, all of these curricular features and stuff that are very unique to this degree. One great thing about the design process of this degree is that it's been very student driven. So for the past at least 2 years, we've had actually a course where students have been credited, current students at Georgetown have been credited to help build on the design of some of these features, to say, okay, yes, we hear this, we want this in our degree, but what can this look like? How would this design actually really benefit our learning and our education, so we're prepared to graduate and go into the outside world? So all the things that you're seeing are very, very student-centered in mind, with a lot of direct student feedback. We wanted to make sure that this was a degree that was very inclusive and collaborative. And that's actually how I got involved, as I was originally in one of those courses. I had a lot of opinions on how I thought it should go. And so I stuck around after that. So I hope that also just says something about how this degree was formulated. Why we have all these different features is because a lot of students advocated for these, because they wanted to have these in their undergraduate experience. And we're really excited to share these with new undergraduates and to pair our knowledge and experience of having recently graduated and gone through undergraduate school, and pair that with faculty and staff and their knowledge and their experience with this. So we're really excited to share this with incoming students. So we're very excited. It's lovely to see this.
And Keaton, I mean, this might be an opportunity for you to share a little bit about the peer leadership opportunities, because it seems to fold into that nicely, and how that relates to maybe the professional development or professional formation or career formation kind of components as well.
Yeah, so I'll touch base on that really quickly, but the peer leadership and mentorship, the main idea behind that was because I've always been a huge advocate for peer leadership, but I know that that doesn't mean the same thing for everyone. The main thing was I wanted to show people that, you can immediately become a leader in this field and you can immediately collaborate with others and jump into action. And use that as a tool to inspire other people. So we don't have to wait in our generation to come up and eventually gain more and more experience to envelop ourselves in action. We can continue to do that from the get-go, be leaders, and still learn as we're in that position. So that was the main inspiration behind it. But with peer leadership, I also understand not everyone wants to be a student academic assistant or a TA. No one wants to all be in that position. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. So I'm currently designing a few different tracks that students could take that could be more personalized based off of your personal interest in environment. And if you come from a certain intersection with that, if you're more interested in public health paired with the environment, if you're more interested in environmental justice or policy or STEM, and figuring out, okay, how does your interest align with that? And what can we do with it? Maybe that does mean going into one of these classes and being a teaching assistant. Maybe that means creating an experience for undergraduates and seeing how they can involve themselves more with Georgetown as a community or the DC community. But these are very broad things that I'm currently designing because I really want to make sure that it can be personalized to the student while still meeting this criteria of preparing you, giving you professional experience of being a leader, and working more with your interests with this. So
That's excellent, Keaton. Thank you. Keaton is an amazing asset to the development of this program, and as she said, has been involved in it for a long time now, which is really a wonderful asset, and hopefully you'll get to ask her lots of questions too. So not just today either. And we should actually share Keaton's email. Oh, I just volunteered you, Keaton, but share your email as well in case they want to reach out to hear a little bit more about the student experience too, and how that was intentionally the components that you were talking about designed into the program. All right. Randall, you want to take this one?
I can start with this. I mean, so this is our visual conception of the first year curriculum. We have similar grids for second, third, and fourth, but we'll share those in another context. But for now, just thinking about how a student would enter this program, it's pretty immersive right out of the box. And I think Jesse alluded to this. The reason is that, we really want to help provide a floor, but not a ceiling. We want you to start with the foundations in this area and really feel steeped in it. And it's partly back to what Keaton was saying, that, we're not asking you to wait to become thought leaders and organizers and advocates in this space. We want to give you tools to do that right out of the box in whatever ways make sense to you: campus engagement, community, policy making, media and communication. Many of you might come in with those capacities and have worked in this space in a variety of ways. We want you to be able to lean into that. So the first year is designed with this foundational curriculum in mind. And so if you're looking at, the grid on the left in the fall, we've got this opening integration that actually overlays the first 4 weeks of the semester. So students in the fall, and this is actually a little bit crosswired right now because the ethics in the first year, just this 1 year, the ethics of the environment class will be in the spring rather than the fall. But the same logic holds, basically, that you'll be doing a core course or an ethics course and environment and sustainability science. And that course will actually happen in the fall and the spring and has a 1-credit lab component. And I'm sure Jesse can say more about that. I'll just say a quick word about the opening and closing integrations. These are 4-week weekly meeting overlays on the first 4 weeks of the semester and the last 4 weeks of this first year experience. And the intention there is that, as you'll all be in your own classes, we want to be together in a cohort-like sense. What would it look like if we all got together as students, faculty, staff, co-learners, a learning community, basically. And we began to think about how can we leverage all of the things we're doing in our classes and outside the classroom on complex problems. So the opening integration would include a sense of connection to one another, connection to ourselves, tools for well-being, thinking about how to reinforce the bonds of being a learning community. And there'll be shared readings and exercises and materials that bring us all together, and that will overlay the courses that you're taking. At the back end, we'll then apply that. There'll be a challenge of some sort. It'll be a simulation, an engagement project, a design sprint project, where together as all of us in the cohort are leveraging what we've done throughout the semester on the back end. And we replicate that model again in the spring as well. So there's a lot, but it also leaves you room to be doing core courses, doing electives, maybe building out the beginnings of a minor if you're pursuing a minor in addition to this degree, working on your languages. There's room for other things as well. It'll be a busy first year, but also a very enriching first year.
And I'll just add that it's enriching, and because of the design of these immersions on both ends of each of the 2 semesters, there is really a community being built within the degree program. So you're coming together, yes, in some of the classes, but then also as a cohort and moving through the program together. So there is, and that's very intentional too. We want you to have those connections across classes, even if you're not in the same class with them, but bringing not just the content together, but people's perspectives and ideas and opinions across those classes and within the cohort. So that gets to the fall semester courses that we have listed. So right now, I'll go over the environment and sustainability science courses. Those are the foundation courses that we have in the program, are the environmental ethics, or the ethics of the environment, and then the environment and sustainability science classes. The ethics is a 1-semester class, and then the environment and sustainability class is a 2-semester class. So you would be taking that both in the fall and in the spring. The way that the content is broken up, the first semester is going to be focused more on conservation biodiversity, some of the overlying ecological principles, systems, and more of the cycling, the larger level type systems and things like that. And how that relates to individual, experiences and perspectives. A little bit less about the human interaction, but more about, it could be a little bit more about the human experience and also other organisms, right? Like how are other organisms at play in these different environments, more in the ecosystem level. And other systems. And then in the second semester, it will be focused more on human interaction. So that could be water resources, water quality, air quality, probably going to do climate change both semesters in different ways, different components of it. Also food, we're going to be doing probably both semesters as well, not just food production, but the effects of food production on the land and on people. And so trying to bring together some of the concepts that are specific to more the human interactions with the environment in the second semester. And there are classroom components, and as Randall said, there are lab components. I tend to refer to this instead of as a lab as more of the experiential component, because that while you might be spending some time in a lab over the course of the semester, not all of it will be in a lab. A lot of it will actually be out and about, either on campus or in the surrounding community, and it's not at times even in other parts of the city that we'll be doing as part of the lab experience. So that's where you're applying and you're putting to use some of what you're learning in the classroom. And then, Randall, do you want to talk about these? Well, you already did talk about the
integration. I'll just do it super quick. I'll just add at Georgetown, you'll hear a couple of phrases repeated throughout your journey here. One is cura personalis, the cultivation of the whole self, the development of ourselves in the fullest possible way, but then also being people for others, right? That we don't just build ourselves and our capacities up as the end point. That's just the starting point, so that way we can be of use and of service and doing good in the world around us. The opening integration will focus on that aspect, a sense of personal responsibility, how we integrate the things we're doing in our classes into our lives. The back end of that, the challenge will be then applying it together. And there's a lot of really exciting simulations and exercises and design sprints that we've used over the years. We'll continue to add more and adapt those. So those are the bookends around the ethics and science courses that you'll take in the first year.
Excellent. So we've given you a lot of information here. So we're going to leave some time for questions and discussion here. And then I'll just also put our email addresses up here. And Priscilla, if you're able to put our emails in the chat as well, that would be great, so they can grab them and copy them and have them. But we're also listed on the website. Keaton probably is not, though. So it would be great if Keaton's is shared as well in the chat, just so that people have it.
Priscilla just did that.
Thank you, Priscilla. See that? That's great. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and we can go to questions. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can either raise your hand and we can call on you, or you can put your question in the chat and we can respond that way, whatever works best for you. But we're excited to hear your questions and to have a little bit of a discussion about this. While I'm waiting for questions, we can just say also that so we had the fall 2023 courses listed up there, but the ethics of the environment is going to be offered in the spring. So that is still considered to be one of the first year courses. We just went over the fall courses in a little bit more detail, but the ethics of the environment will be offered in the spring. And then we do have a list of other courses that are core courses that have more environmental themes associated with them. So if you're interested in pursuing, meeting your requirements through courses that are actually environmental or sustainability themed, there's a couple of, or a lot that are available out there as well.
Yeah, that's an important point worth mentioning, just as where, seeing if folks do have questions or thoughts, right, or just sharing reflections. I mean, it doesn't have to be formal or a specific kind of question. But that is one interesting feature of the degree, is the connection that you can all make to environmental and sustainability issues as you're pursuing your core curriculum, which is, so the general education requirements of the college, of the university, and will help with that in terms of shaping that trajectory so that your core courses can actually overlap with and have an environmental emphasis. They don't have to, right? Certainly you're absolutely free. And in some cases, it may be more advantageous if you're pursuing a minor, et cetera, to curate your core in a different direction, but there is the opportunity to do so around environmental issues. And that's just one quick piece that I'll mention, and then we'll take the first question here, which is that there's a lot of advising in this program, right? Like, we're really taking seriously the idea of you mapping an individual trajectory. That means we work with you to help you do that this isn't just painting with a broad brush. We've created a framework, but every student will adapt it to their own interests and their own particular journey, and we'll be with you on that journey. This will be a very heavily advised program where you're meeting with faculty and staff, but also student peers as well, helping to shape each other's journeys. So there'll be a lot of dialogue along the way, and we'll help you put all the pieces together. Even if it seems like there's a lot now, we'll be there to help you put all those pieces together as you go.
Great. And it looks like the first question that we have is, would the credit requirements require us to be enrolled from the first year, or would it be possible to join from second year as well? Thank you. So thank you for the question so much, Saki. It's great to have you on the webinar. And one of the main focuses of this program is that we really do have a pretty structured first 2 years. So it is definitely ideal to start in the first year to make sure that you're meeting those requirements so that you can continue to progress through the degree requirements in the upper years, especially because of the 2-2 situation where you actually have the first 2 years on the hilltop and then the next 2 years downtown. So different courses available at different places. One of the interesting aspects of being downtown is that we're we're not going to be the only program down there. There's going to be the School of Health is going to be down there. The School of Public Policy is down there, School of Nursing. So there's a bunch of different other schools that are there, and it allows for some really interesting potentially even cross-listed classes that are going to be available at the upper levels too. So that's one aspect. And then as far as being able to join later, because we have the foundations courses that are required in the first year, you would need to be fulfilling those in the second year as well as the second year requirements. So we would like to try to limit that as much as possible and have people join in the first year as much as possible. Randall, do you have anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, just, there are sometimes we call these, on ramps and off ramps, right? Like, so students that would want to come into this program a little bit later on, second semester, first year, or second year, there are potentials to do that, but it's not the favored option. As Jesse was saying, it really is important to, if you're interested in this and you feel like you want to immerse yourself in it, to kind of hit the ground running, and because those first 2 years are really important. And then those, second 2 years. So we've kind of inverted this. Usually the model is students have more range of choice in the beginning, then they triangulate around something that they're interested in. We're kind of asking you to declare that interest earlier rather than later, and then you can open up to making all these other connections. Doesn't have to look like that in every single case, but that's sort of how we built the model, to give you that floor, but not impose a ceiling. And I think that fits into the second question that Alexandra asked about, can you do a second major or a second degree? It's always possible to do double majors. You can do a major and a minor. It would be a lot for sure, like no doubt, like we've built a very robust program, but students do it. I mean, there are other majors on campus that have as many or more credit requirements than this degree does. And students absolutely do pursue double majors. Again, we would work with you to harmonize all of that, to make sure that you're strategically using your core classes to count toward one of those majors, so that you're doubling that impact. If there's a capstone project for your second major, let's say a studio art major, we would try to help you figure out ways to harmonize the capstone requirement for this program, so that you're doing separate projects, but you're connecting them, so that you're not, doing double time on everything. So it's doable. It would definitely take a lot of thinking forward and a lot of planning, but that's what advising is for, and your deans will be available to help with that as well.
Yeah, I will say that if there are ways to be complementary in some of those aspects, like Randall was saying with the capstone, where you can have complementary components, and then also, if you're coming in knowing that you are going to pursue like a minor and then the JESP degree or something like that, and you hit the ground in the beginning fulfilling those requirements, it's very different than if you tried to add a minor or something later. And so if you're coming in knowing that, you can certainly start to down that road right from the beginning, and that does make it a little bit more accessible. But it is a because of the first 2 years being pretty structured in this degree program, you need to be pretty intentional about where you're taking the classes and when, because of the 2-2 nature of the program. It looks like, is it possible to take summer classes for this degree and potentially finish earlier? So we will be offering some summer classes. We don't have them offered yet because we are still, we're kicking off the new courses this fall. And so we'll see what the needs are for the program first before we decide what's offered in the summers. It might be something that is cross-listed with another program, because we also need to make sure that we're reaching capacity for the classes, because we need to have enough students enrolled in the classes in order to be able to offer them in the summer. So we need to know that the needs are there. One of the other options that might be considered that could count towards meeting some of the upper level requirements would be some of the study abroad classes that we have. I just got back from teaching a tropical ecology class in the Yucatan, Mexico, that actually is able to meet some of the requirements for the degree and for other programs as well. So those sorts of classes might be a potential summer option as well.
Yeah, I'll just add that summer is definitely in play, Heidi. There's options. As Jesse said, we're still, figuring out how this degree specifically will build out into summer. But as a precursor, Jesse ran a summer field course. I'm teaching a summer online course in environmental peace building, which could be an elective. So there's definitely options to use the summer term in creative ways. Whether that translates into graduating early, you'll have to do the math on that. You know, it could be that it adds pieces or changes pieces or allows you to do a double major. But certainly, you know, it's feasible to use summer in that way, and it might allow you to accelerate the timetable if the numbers add up.
And that might be the case if there are summer classes that you need to take for languages, or maybe for some of the other requirements as well, either core requirements or even for the degree like quantitative component, those kinds of things you might be able to take during the summer also.
Yeah, and just to the next question, just to say, yes, we are recording the session and we will have it available as well. And we're compiling some of the questions that folks are asking in a place that we will synthesize down the road as well. But yes, the recording will be available for this session.
And Caitlin, after you watch the recording, feel free to reach out to us individually and let us know if you have any follow-up questions. If we didn't cover something that you were interested in and weren't able to ask the question during the session, but feel free to reach out to us.
Any other thoughts or questions, reflections, expressions of excitement? Anything is fine while we have a couple more minutes. Okay, well, I think 10 seconds of Zoom silence is the limit for us usually. So, but if anything does come up, feel free to reach out to any of us. We're happy to, to work with you one-on-one and answer any questions you have. And again, there's some questions that, others may be interested in as well. So we'll compile those. We just want to say we're very grateful for you all, your interest in the program and, being part of the webinar. Like, it's very exciting to have a cohort of students who are kind of getting in on the ground floor. That's a really exciting proposition to be in the first cohort potentially. We're inviting you into the process of helping us to round this out, to fine tune it, to take what we've conceived and what we've built up from our best practices and years of doing this in environmental studies and through the Red House, but really to roll it out in a complicated and fascinating way with you all as participants. It's a really exciting prospect, and we're grateful that you're all interested and leaning into that.
All right, so just want to say thank you, and thank you for joining. Thanks also to Priscilla and Keaton and everybody else that was participating. And so reach out to us, let us know if you have any questions, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.
Bye, thanks.